What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to The World According to Briggs and a video about US states again. But today we're looking at something a little bit different. We're looking at the states where the locals don't want you to move to. Every state should have between 5 and 10% population turnover, meaning some locals move out while people from other states move in. It's natural. Maybe not to the people of Arkansas and Kentucky. They'd be perfectly happy if their whole state was just filled with their relatives, and like 2 dentists. Today's list, we take a look at the states that don't want you moving there. Over the last few years, we've been keeping track of what state videos get the most comments from people claiming to be residents and telling others in the comment section not to move to their state. For some states, it makes total sense why they feel that way. Other states like Arkansas, it makes no sense. Nobody's moving to that state except for in the northwest corner. The rest of the state is like evacuating. I mean, they're either moving out of state or moving to that northwest corner where things are good. For this video, we also ran a survey on Google and asked people what 3 states do they feel that the locals are least welcoming to newcomers. I gotta tell you, there are a few surprises on this list. Let's take a look at who doesn't want you. Number 10. South Dakota. This is the first surprise. I didn't know anyone really wanted to move to South Dakota. I know a lot of the outdoor types like to go there for vacation or touristy stuff, but I didn't know a lot of people were really moving to South Dakota. So I kind of looked at the numbers and they're actually the 2nd or 4th most moved to state in the union. They have different surveys and different criteria, but in 2021, they're in the top 5. They have a lot of construction going on there, and a lot of tech jobs are moving to South Dakota. So yeah, kind of makes sense. And this is kind of driving up prices, which always angers the locals. In the survey, 38% of the respondents had South Dakota in their top 3 for states not welcoming the newcomers. Number 9, Colorado. Colorado has been a move to spot since forever. In the last few years, they've fallen out of the top 10 most moved to states. I've seen a couple where they're like number 8 or 9, but for the most part, they normally end up around number 12 or 14, somewhere in there. There was a long time, I'm talking from the 1970s to about the late 1990s, where there were 1, 2, or 3 almost every single year. And this has changed Colorado, not for the best. I mean, prices have been going up forever. Denver is too crowded, in my opinion. I used to go there all the time in the mid-90s, and then when I went back in 16, 17, and 19, it really got a lot more expensive and a lot more crowded. Now, they have other parts of Colorado that aren't the Denver area, which is known to most of them as the Front Range. I've actually heard it called the Eastern Slope also, so Front Range mostly. But that's where it's getting too crowded, and that's where you probably run into the most unfriendly locals. 44% of the respondents had Colorado in their most unfriendly towards newcomers. Number 8, California. You never hear about it, but people are moving into California to this day. All you ever hear about is how people are moving to Oregon, Idaho, Texas from California because California has a buttload of issues. If you do live in California and you don't think you've got a bunch of problems, please have your medication checked, get a CAT scan, or have a loved one look in on you because you're not thinking straight. 47% of the respondents had California as one of their top 3 for places where the locals would really prefer it if you stayed where you're at. Number 7, Oregon. There was a time where this was a real big issue. I mean, people used to go around and put these stickers on for sale signs that had a picture of California with a do not enter sign type thing, or one of those Ghostbusters circle with a cross through it. And it was kind of a thing where people were asking their realtors not to accept bids from Californians. People have actually had their car vandalized because they had California license plates here in the Portland area. I'm sure it's happened all over the state. There was a time where they would put on the Welcome to Oregon sign, people would go up there and graffiti it with "Keep moving, stranger," because they didn't want people moving here. It's insane. 52% of the respondents had Oregon down as unfriendly locals towards newcomers. Number 6, North Carolina. This one again surprised me. I didn't know this was really a big thing, and North Carolina is a very friendly state. In my experience, I didn't know they didn't want people moving there, but apparently if you live in the Asheville area, you're kind of sick of newcomers. I read a blog where a guy did like 4,000 words on how much more expensive beer has gotten since people have started moving to Asheville. It's not just Asheville, though. That seems to be where the biggest concentration of anti-newcomer sentiment is. But the whole state has become very popular over the last few years. And it's, prices are going up and locals are getting pissed. 53% of the respondents had North Carolina down as not friendly to newcomers. Number 5, Tennessee. The volunteer state until recently has always been almost in the top 10 for most move to states, and this has garnished a lot of animosity towards newcomers. Nashville's always pulled people in from all over the country, but other cities like Knoxville and Chattanooga have started to gain popularity in the last few years. In 2021, Tennessee was ranked as the 7th most moved to state in the country, and a lot of people are moving to places like Chattanooga and Knoxville for tech jobs, especially Chattanooga. They've got a growing tech sector. This is making the locals not dig what's going on in their city and pretty much their whole state. 31% of the people that moved to Tennessee in 2021 listed a job as their reason for moving. This, of course, raises prices and kind of pushes locals out of jobs in a lot of cases. 56% of the respondents said Tennessee is unwelcoming to strangers. Number 4, Arizona. Arizona is one of those places where a lot of New Yorkers and Californians are retiring to. About 22% of the people that moved to Arizona in 2021 listed retirement as their reason for moving there. 30% of those people are 65 years and older. 57% of the respondents said Arizonans don't want you. Number 3, Hawaii. Hawaii doesn't want you even if you have a job, but especially if you don't have a job. Don't go there looking for a job as far as Hawaiians are concerned with. Matter of fact, most Hawaiians will tell you just not to come there. When you're driving around, walking around, and you see them holding up a finger, they're not telling you you're number 1 or Hawaii's number 1. They're kind of signaling to you that you should get off their beach and head back to Nebraska. Hawaii is one of the few states that isn't on the most moved to list. For 2021, 2020, all the way back to 2017 was the last time they made the top 10. 65% of the respondents said Hawaiians don't want you showing up on their beach. Number 2, Texas. If anyone's got an axe to grind about newcomers, it's Texas. They've been flooded in recent years. I'd say really bad in the last 4-5 years, but it's been going on about a decade or so. And yes, this is the most common place Californians land when they leave the Golden State. But here's the rub. It's slowing down. Last year was the first year in almost a decade that they weren't in the top 10 for the most moved to states. This is according to the United Van Line Mover Study. 2020, they weren't really high up on the list either. They are actually considered a medium state as far as inward migration. 2019 was when Texas peaked. They've been falling on that list for 2 years now. 74% of the respondents said Texans don't want you moving into their state. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There is a link down below. Love it if you went over there and watched some videos. Maybe subscribe. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Idaho. Yep, the gem state is number 1 again. The last time Idaho wasn't in the top 10 most moved to state was 2013. They had like a 4-year break. In 2009, they had a little bit of an increase, but most of the time they've been considered a medium move to state. But they've been one of the most moved to states normally in the top 10 since 2014, and the locals don't like it. Idaho's a great state with a lot of things to offer, especially if you're an outdoor type, and a lot of new people coming in is kind of ruining things as far as the locals are concerned. Again, the local government and businesses love seeing new blood in town, but yeah, the locals really don't dig it. Now, this is one of the most moved to states for Californians, but here's the thing. Most people in Idaho and Arizona and actually Texas seem to think that all the Californians moving there are changing the way the state votes. Not so much in Idaho. Texas, yes and no, because a lot of younger people are registering as Democrats in Texas. But in Idaho, about 75% of the people moving from California to Idaho are registered Republicans and conservative. The Democrat liberal ones, they moved to Washington and Oregon. I try not to get into politics on this channel, but I thought that was a solid point. 79% of the respondents had Idaho down as unfriendly towards newcomers. The only surprise here is it wasn't like 90% of the respondents. Honestly, Idaho is kind of famous for not wanting newcomers. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.